Welcome to the session, Unpacking a Unit of Competency. RTOs are legally obligated to abide by the standards for RTOs 2015. One of the requirements is to ensure that we have an assessment system that complies with the assessment requirements of the relevant training package. As an RTO, we provide training assessment and award qualifications, and therefore we need to ensure we are assessing the full requirements of the unit of competency. In order to do this, we need to firstly unpack the unit. Firstly, you need to make sure you have the current unit. Go to www.training.gov.au and search for your unit and go to the current unit, go to the content of that unit, and there you will be able to download both the unit of competency and the assessment requirements for your unit in either Word or PDF form. You must download both of the documents. The first step is to read both the documents, that is, the unit of competency and the assessment requirements. Try to read from the perspective of a trainer and assessor rather than as an industry expert. This should assist you when it comes time to write your assessment. A key step to unpacking a unit of competency involves developing a picture of competence. This is a description of how the unit is applied in a work context. That is, what would a competent worker look like? Read through the application and the description of the unit to help you to determine this. For example, in BSB WHS 201, the learner is expected to work in a manner that is healthy and safe in relation to the self and others and to respond to emergency incidents. It applies to individuals who only require a basic knowledge of workplace health and safety to carry out their job. Not all units have the same requirements when it comes to language literacy and numeracy. When reading a unit of competency, consider the language that is being used. This will assist you to determine the activity and the level at which the activity should be performed. Some simple things to think about when looking at a unit of competency are: does it require that a learner explains something? Does it require that a learner needs to follow instructions? Does it require that a learner needs to measure or calculate something? This will help you to determine the English language skills, the reading skills, and the numeracy skills that the learner requires. When determining the level of difficulty needed in a question, you will have to refer to the unit of competency that you are assessing as well as the Australian Qualifications Framework. The Australian Qualifications Framework, known as AQF, will impact on the type of questions you should be asking. These can range from simple recall of information to complex analysis of information, and you will get the clues from the language that is used in the unit of competency. For example, higher AQF level qualifications will ask the learners to design, evaluate, analyse or synthesise. Lower AQF levels may ask the learner to describe, list, state or select. When reading the performance criteria, it is a good idea to highlight or take note of the doing words or the verbs in each of the criteria. These words will help you to determine what is required of the student and how you will assess the criteria. For example, in BSB WHS 201, the PCs state that a student must follow, carry out, identify, record, report, implement, contribute, raise, and take action. These are all observable behaviours. The assessment would need to require the student to record information on workplace forms and verbally communicate with others. Therefore, simply asking knowledge questions would not be a suitable way to assess the performance criteria. Foundation skills is the term given to a broad range of skills that come from two major frameworks. Firstly, the Australian Core Skills Framework, referred to as the ACSF, and this includes the 5 core skills of learning, reading, writing, oral communication, and numeracy. Second framework is the Core Skills for Work, the CSFW. These include navigate the world for work, interact with others, and get the job done. Foundation skills underpin all job tasks, such as having a conversation with a client or a colleague, completing an observation record, working to a schedule, or reading workplace policies and procedures. It's important to note that particular foundation skills apply to each unit of competency. Trainers should not just assume that the learners have those skills, because even if a learner has good reading skills, they may need support to develop the skills required to read particular documents, or they might need support to complete a particular type of report. In many units of competency where foundations are built into the unit content, the following statement's been included under the Foundation Skills heading. Foundation skills essential to performance are explicit in the performance criteria of this unit of competency. That means that the foundation skills are actually embedded into the performance criteria and will be assessed when you assess the performance criteria. For example, MEM 13016 states that the foundation skills are explicit in the performance criteria, therefore you don't need additional or any other assessment. You just need to make sure you're covering the performance criteria and you will cover the required foundation skills. In some units of competency, the foundation skills will be explicitly listed, they will be linked to performance criteria, and you will be provided with a description on how you are expected to cover those foundation skills. Ensure that you assess those foundation skills along with the performance criteria. So it's a good idea once you've written your assessment to read through those foundation skills descriptions and ensure that you've actually included those in your assessment items. The performance evidence section states what a student has to do, how many times they have to do it, and the where and when. Students actually have to demonstrate their skills, therefore writing and just answering questions would not be a sufficient way to assess performance evidence. In this example, it states that the student must follow procedures and instructions, respond to emergency incidents, identify and report on hazards, and contribute to WHS processes, and that each of these must be provided at least once. In the knowledge section, it states what a student needs to know in order to do the tasks. There are two ways to consider the knowledge requirements. It may be that the knowledge is embedded in the task and can be demonstrated through the practical assessment. However, it may also require explicit knowledge, and this would need an activity so that the student could demonstrate their knowledge. For example, if words such as define, explain, describe, and summarize are used in the knowledge evidence section, you would need to have an activity such as short answer questions to ensure you cover these requirements. The assessment conditions outline the resources and situations that the student needs to have access to when completing the assessment tasks. It may state that you need a simulated or real workplace. It may provide a list of the equipment and technology, and it might state that you need access to other people. This section also outlines the assessor requirements. In the example shown, it states that the assessor must satisfy the AQTF assessor requirements. In other units, it actually stipulates how many industry years experience that you would require and if you were required to hold any particular qualifications. So in summary, when unpacking a unit of competency, you will need to analyse all the requirements of the unit of competency. This includes the application, the performance criteria, the performance evidence, the knowledge evidence, the foundation skills, and the assessment conditions. Assessment tasks will need to capture evidence of all of these to ensure that the full requirements of the unit of competency are being assessed.